Yep, soft pretzels. Hello, hello. Uh, you beat me to it for once. Welcome in, Saizan. I'm putting some dishes away still. But I guess I can chit-chat while I do that. So yeah, our friend of the show, Real Steel, made some delicious looking soft pretzels, and I decided I wanted to give those a go. So that's what I'm gonna do. Oh, you're excited for today's show. Is that unusual? Should I feel slighted that you're not excited for every show? I see how it is. Oh. But we've got to put the existing washed dishes away because I'm going to be producing a whole bunch more, and it'd be nice if there was room for them. Well, I tell you, I am taking a bit of a shortcut because I wanted a well-rested dough. So the dough is already made. And since it's already made, I'm also cheating and I didn't make it myself. We'll go over that. Because this is also going to be a test run of pre-made doughs, just to see how they behave or don't. But I'm glad you are excited for the old show. And we get to make a cheese sauce, which is also something I can't say I've never done it before. I've attempted it several times, and it always comes out a little bit weird. So the cheese sauce will be practice. Let's see if I can't get it to come out correctly. Uh, One last pot. And okie doke. Okay, well, I guess I've already gone over the impetus for the idea. Um, I'll start with some of our ingredients and do a quick once over. What we've got here, sorry, gentlemen. So pretzels are a chewy bread. So you need a well-developed gluten and a decent amount of resting time to develop the dough properly. So what's something else that is a pretty chewy bread and requires a substantial resting time? Pizza. Conveniently, my local grocery store sells pre-mixed pizza dough. This one happens to be garlic flavored. So I'm actually we're doing a cheat. We're not making my own dough from scratch, but I do need to work on the dough because it's not ready for making pretzels directly from this state. Autoplay video. What's the 20 ounces? Okay. So there's going to be some adjustments as well. For starters, we need to get out the flour tower. Because I need flour. Oh, I always bury the flour tower because it's the largest thing up in here. So it ends up buried in all the smaller things. So I've never used this dough before. I've made my own pizza dough before, but I've never used the pre-made stuff. Felix, welcome in. You are first. What's neat about this stuff is you can freeze it. So I actually have had this for a while, and I bought it and chucked it in the freezer, thinking I'll come up with something that it'll be ready when I need it later down the line. So that's a convenience factor, and I asked about it. I didn't just do it assuming it would work. They apparently ship them to the store frozen. So yes, they can survive freezing. They literally always do it. So that's a neat feature. I'm sorry. I suppose I'm advertising for this company. Not a sponsor brand. And actually, I don't have any review of them yet because this is going to be the first time I've cooked with it. But let's get floured work surface. The dough's not super sticky, but we need it to be not sticking. It is a bit tacky. It's not. Okay, it definitely wants to stick to your hand, which is not a great sign. Which is why I need to flour it up. Okay, get the surface floured so that it's not sticking. And then we need to knead. Pretzel dough is drier than pizza dough. So if we're starting from a pizza dough, we're adding some flour to it to try to dry it out a little bit. Not too much, a little bit. Also, the dough is pretty cold because it was in the fridge, so I want it to get warmed up to room temperature, and sticking my hands in it like this will definitely help along. We want it to the point where it doesn't have any loose flour, but doesn't stick to the anything. Those little bits of garlic in here. Yeah. I guess that's a good sign. It's going to be quite garlicky because it's got bits of garlic. Shining. Welcome in. You're just in time. I've just started by taking out pre-made dough and putting it on the counter and kneading it like I'm doing something. I'm going to pick up this extra flour. We are doing something. We're adding flour to it because pizza dough is not quite right. So it's okay if it's a little tacky on the surface. It just needs to not be sticky because we're going to end up rolling this out into logs, and if it's sticky, it'll stick. It needs a little bit more flour. But so I didn't pick this up with the intent of making pretzels out of it. I was inspired to make pretzels, and then I already had this, and I was like, oh, I could try that. I could give that a try. Pick up more dough or more flour. I will say this dough out of the package, nice and soft as it's coming up, warming up with my hands. It's really a nice soft dough. I'm impressed that this nice soft dough came out of a bag in the cooler in the grocery store. I've bought like frozen doughs before. Not a huge fan. But this stuff, impressed. I do have a recipe up. It's from All Recipes, so it's one of all of the recipes. They have all of the recipes. The interesting thing here is going to be when we get to the base wash, because to make pretzels, you have to traditionally use lye, much like you would with bagels. But I did not pick up any culinary lye. So we're doing a baking soda bath. But this going to need to rest for some time, which gives us a chance to clean up the flour. Think about accoutrements. And preheat the oven. You sticky? You don't feel sticky. I'm not sure how much flour I ended up incorporating in there, but a quantity. Enough that it's not sticky. I can smash my hand into it, and it clings just for a moment. But it's not sticking to me, and it's not sticking to the worktop, which is what we want. Because if it sticks to either me or the worktop, when we get to trying to make shaped things out of it, it will turn into globs and strings and all sorts of nonsense. Okay, flour tower out of the way. Flour tower back in the way. And we shall pop this in a bowl to rest. It needs to come up to room temperature There are some yeasts in there, so the yeasts need to wake up. This little crack at the bottom needs to kind of glue to itself. And my tea towel. Where did I end up putting those tea towels? Once upon a time they lived in the kitchen, but then they moved. Perhaps I moved them to a different part of the kitchen. I'm not sure where I put those. I haven't used them for a while. I don't make a lot of bread for myself in the winter because it doesn't rise properly when it's chilly. But it means that I've misplaced my kitchen towels, my bread towels. Okay. Well, dish towel it is. Okay, they don't need to rest for very long, but it does need to rest for a bit. So, put it in the photo station area. Okay. Clean off my worktop. Once again, I've selected something that requires some rest time. Like a fool. Like a dang fool. My oven doesn't have a light. But that's a good idea. Oh, and the towel I put on there is the one I would have dried my hands with, so to the bathroom for the bathroom towel. My oven is a billion years old and should probably be replaced. I pray for its demise all the time. Then we can get a new one. It's a trooper. Yeah, it's weird. Not going to argue there. It's just predates light bulbs, I think. What was I going to do while I waited for that dough to rest? Well, we may as well preheat the oven. Unfortunate, yes. Whenever they built this oven, they were still building things to last. Okay, I'm going to leave the flour tower out and accessible just in case I need more flour. I can try making the cheese sauce, but the cheese sauce probably should be made during the baking period. Because it'll be fresher when we get to that stage. So at the moment, I have a bit of just sort of waiting around time, which is always a fun time. So we're going to prep up. I'm going to bring you over to the stove for this. You can see I cut something on my sheet pan here and pressed down too hard and gave it quite a ferocious crease. I probably should pick up a new one at some point so that I have one that's actually flat. Make 2 sauces. Okay, in that case, suggestions for a secondary sauce. Also, welcome in. How's it going? Where's my mouse? There it is. It'll weigh it down when there's actually something on it. Homemade mustard. I've never made homemade mustard. I don't know that I have the ingredients for homemade mustard. Something sweet. Well, we could try something sweet, but we're making a garlic pretzel, so I'm not sold on that. I ate the potato already. I've still got the mushrooms. Ooh, tomato based. I'm going to ask Google dipping sauces for pretzels. The best dip for your pretzels, according to the Food Network, is mustard, followed by cheese. Ooh, followed by chocolate. Do garlic and chocolate. Well, there's a place that's selling chocolate covered garlic. Um, ooh. Okay. That's an idea. That's an idea. Um, Pizza sauce. Sauce that tastes like pizza. Potentially. I guess that would lean towards a cheese sauce, but with tomato and herbs in it as well. It is technically a pizza dough, and it's garlic flavored already. Spinach artichoke dip. Crab dip. I don't have crab. I can't make crab dip. Um, Mushrooms. You know. You know. What if? What if? Apparently, there are recipes that combine chocolate and garlic, and this isn't just made up. But I think I want to follow a recipe and not just wing it with that because that sounds like something that might not work. Um, Mushroom sauce. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, what do I have going on in here? Got that, we've got, okay. Yes. You've convinced me. And hey, we've got a toy to quickly pulverize the mushrooms. Okay. 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 Got to be mindful of what tools I use. Food processor. We will revisit garlic and chocolate at some point in the future and see how it actually works. But for now, mushrooms. Let's pop over to the countertop. We've already got the base here. Pop the barrel on. Put in the blank dowel. Mount it up with the disc with the shredding side up. And lid it. Pull out the feeder chute. And pull out the mushrooms. Power. And then I guess we just shred up these mushrooms. This will be so much better. I wish I had this. Remember when I made that vegan bolognese and I had to mince up a pound of mushrooms by hand? I ended up with a blister from doing that. And it took 45 minutes of just mincing mushrooms. This would have been the perfect thing. Let's turn on the disc. And it's just that easy. I hope it wasn't too loud. Lid off. It did kind of mush some of them up toward the top. So we will have to be careful. Oh, that's what those circles are for. So if you've never used a food processor with the disc before, with the blade at the top, the food just passes through it once and gets shredded, but not continually pulverized like it would in a... Oh, it wasn't that loud for me. It's actually substantially less loud than my blender, which is neat. Let me take that part out. So you can see it's all been shredded up, but not like pulverized into a paste, which the blender would do. I could have done this by hand, but gosh, so much easier to use the device. And if I'd done it by hand, I wouldn't have had quite as nice little of shreds. It would have been a mince. So we're making a mushroom dip out of this. So the mushrooms need to be cooked down. The idea here was they need to be minced up real small so they cook down into a nice fine paste. And it needs some butter. Actually, we need to make a roux. Step one, we need to make a roux. So I will start that. My last stick of butter, and I didn't thaw it out. Well, my last stick of butter from that package. There's 2 more packages of butter in there because I stocked up. I am just kind of eyeballing this recipe, not following measurements. So I guess I'm just going to eyeball this stage of it too. So start with some butter in the pan on the heat. Bring this over to the stove there. I don't usually use my butter directly from frozen. I try to thaw the stick out beforehand, but I wasn't planning for this. I never asked for this. Flour. Cook into a roux. Oh, weird. It wants me to make a roux and then remove the roux from the pan and then cook the mushrooms. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I'm also not sure about any of the proportions of this, so I'm going to go with just some pretty basic stuff here. We're not following this recipe. We're going for a vague guidelines here. Thank you for the moisten. Moist. Let's get some hot water going. Come on, come on. Oh, I need to make that into an official command. Train the bot to say moist for me. Okay. I got a cup of hot water and a tablespoon of this stock concentrate, mushroom stock, conveniently. And we'll just make those become one thing. It doesn't need to be super duper well. I do have some cream. I also have some sour cream and some milk. So we have options on the dairy front. And their recipe calls for sour cream. This recipe for reference is from thekitchen.com, which is apparently a kitchen. Our butter's going bubbly. Oof. This is. I'm glad I didn't go for the amount they suggested because this already looks like it's going to be too much. I may have extra mushroom dip. We're making 2 dairy-based dips because the other one's cheese. I should have gone with the tomatoes. Ugh. What was I thinking? Okay. Equal parts butter and flour in the pan. Mix them together. We want this one to be thick because of thickness. I don't really want to go through the hassle of removing the roux from the pan after I've made it. Aside from just literally dropping it out the sides of the pan because I'm not good at this. So a roux, for those of you not familiar, is a starch, in this case flour, that's cooked with a fat, in this case butter. And what this does is it causes the starch molecules to begin gelatinizing, and it incorporates fat into the starches. This allows the stuff to readily combine with liquids. If you've ever wondered how instant pudding mix works, they've chemically pre-gelatinized the starches in the cornstarch that's in the packet so that it can immediately dissolve into your milk and form a thick, creamy pudding. Also, it's a good idea. Extra mushroom sauce would be excellent on other things. So, now the mushrooms will shrink up and we'll lose a lot of water in the process. So I don't know that we're going to have a ton of it. Which is good because I don't need a huge, vast quantities of this stuff. Okay. Okay, okay. Okay, let's get the food processor motor out of here. Because it's definitely been long enough for my dough to have finished resting. So we can let those mushrooms get started on the old cooking and bring this guy back. And let's see if it's changed. Not particularly, but it hasn't been resting very long, so that's not a surprise. Is it still? Yep. It springs back when I poke it, and it's tacky but not sticking, which is exactly what we wanted. Probably a little bit bigger. I would have to go back and do a side-by-side comparison. Okay. If we pop back over to pretzel directions, which I was following along pretty well. Then it wants me to prep the baking sheet with parchment and cornmeal. Interesting. Then it wants us to make a base, an alkaline bath, before you even do the shaping part. So, we're getting out my large, deep steel skillet. We're rinsing out my measuring cup. One pint. Two pint. 1,500 milliliters of water. To which we add quite a lot of baking soda. A third of a cup of baking soda, which I conveniently have a third cup measure. I moved the, here, if we pop over to the stove, this is our alkaline bath, and I moved the mushrooms back there to think about what they've done. And they're rapidly thickening, so we might need more water in the mushrooms, actually, to get them to really think about what they've done. I'm going to add some more water to them so they can slow down a little bit while I'm occupied. Literally adding water to them so that I can cook it back out of them in a moment. Exciting. Exciting. Anyways, baking soda. Don't get confused with baking powder. Baking powder is not the same thing. Baking powder is super duper not the same thing. Baking soda is one of those one ingredient. It's just a chemical. It's sodium bicarbonate. And we just dump it in there. Quite a lot of baking soda. Now, to do this properly, we would need some lye. But lye is hard to come by, and if you don't treat it right, it's also extremely poisonous. So we're gonna go with this kind. Get it nice and dissolved. Bring to a simmer and maintain a low simmer. So we're gonna dust the work surface and the dough ball so that it does not stick. We're coming back over here. Coming back over here. It did end up sticking just a tiniest bit when I laid it down and left it alone. So lightly flour the outside so it's not sticking to anything while we're working with it. Flatten slightly. Already did under its own weight. Divide into pieces. Now the recipe that we're working with has 16 ounces of dough, and this is a 20-ounce ball of dough that I've added a little bit to. So I guess I'm going to go for eighths instead of sixths, just because my dough ball is bigger. And then this, I don't know why they would do this to you, but the instructions here don't have me making pretzel shapes. They have me making donuts, like bagels, but pretzeled. Which we're not doing that. We're making pretzel shaped pretzels, because you got to make pretzel shaped pretzels. This is a very stretchy dough. I like it. I enjoy this dough. And then you make your pretzel shape like that. And the ends don't really stick to each other because it's not quite tacky enough. That's a pretty small pretzel too. We could try different shapes. See how everything works out in the end. That one's very cute and I like it. I will get my prepared sheet here. Put it on the side and start placing them down. It wants me to put a little bit of cornmeal underneath them so they don't stick to the I don't know if they'll puff up. Probably, but I don't know. My guess is yes, but your guess is as good as mine. It might puff up and like close itself into a little nothing. Also, the ends aren't actually connected to each other. I think if I want the ends to connect, I need a little wet. A little wet right on the tips, so that when I go whoop and then whoop, they adhere. Okay. Moving them around is hard. Let's try one the way that the recipe actually tells me to, which is not that one because I just made it into a knot ball, is to take one of these guys and form it back into a disc. And then punch a hole in the middle and make a funny ring out of it. Okay, well, it certainly is faster, so that's probably why I want me to do it that way, but I want my pretzel shapes. My alkaline bath is at a simmer. Ooh, this is a very elastic dough. And my mushrooms are boiling. Okay. And then you go one like this, press it in, one like this, press it in, pretzel. I'm gonna start by stretching this one before I roll it. I end up having to pull them to stretch them anyways. We're experimenting with different methods for forming the actual shapes of the pretzels now. So there's nothing stopping you from doing like any shape you want, as long as they have a just looked up how to make a pretzel shape. Do tell. Because I was just going to do it like this. And then kind of open up the eyes a little bit because it really wants to. kind of squinch in on itself, doesn't it? I overworked that one for sure. Let's give my mushrooms a quick stir. They definitely have some work to do yet. Oop, oop. They want to shrink up and they want to stick to the worktop just a little bit. The shaping is definitely the trickiest part so far. A double twist. How to shape a pretzel. Okay. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. That's much cleverer than I am. Well, we're going to save the ones I've already shaped, but I'm going to try to shape this one the proper way. I've got to make it longer, too, for this. That makes sense, though. So you go like so. First of all, it really wants to immediately contract. Maybe I should stretch them out and just let them rest stretched out for a little bit. But you take like so and like so, and then you twist it. it stuck together. This one's much stickier than the previous ones. Okay, so shaping is definitely the most challenging part, which is why this guide I have says just make little circles. Basically, what they want you to do is have them cross over in the middle, not just lay on top of each other. like so, and then like so, and then bring them down. So you get this little, there you go. It's just a matter of getting them long enough. There, that's the one. It's just a matter of getting them long enough, and my dough is really springy, and I think that's probably because I'm using a pizza dough, which naturally has a lot of elastic to it, because that's what pizza doughs are like. I gotta be honest, I thought these were gonna be a little bit bigger, and I might make one. I think I could have gotten away with making 4 larger ones than the 8 smaller ones. I'm gonna try to make this last one bigger. Ugh. I wish the dough wasn't quite so springy too. Um, Having flashbacks to the pie crust. Okay, okay, okay. No, stop stretching that part. Stop stretching this part and stretch this little fat part at the end. And this little fat part at this end. Okay. One long one. And then we take it and we we maintain stretch on it because it really wants to contract. Twist it, flip it, bop it. There. Bet you I could have made 4 of those instead of 8 of these little guys. Let's get over to the stove because these guys need to boil for a moment. The baking sheet must be ready to go because, oh, interesting. There's a bit of a crust forming on my pan from the baking soda. But these guys need to go in here. They're meant to float, so I'm already concerned. You floating? No, you're adhering to the bottom. Okay. They only need to go for 30 seconds per side, according to the thing. So I think my shaping is letting me down. This is gonna be some fun cleanup. I've got this crust of baking soda on everything. Okay. It's not that it's not enough water, it's that it's not floating. It sank. It just sank straight to the bottom. Maybe the smaller ones will yeah, it's not a matter of it not being deep enough. It's a matter of the things aren't floating. They're just sinking straight to the bottom. And then they want to stick because they're touching the bottom. They float after they've started to cook a little bit. This is also not an ideal tool for this. They don't look much like pretzels on the back. Come on. Okay, well, we're going to have to revisit and practice these, I think. Try the one that's just a circle. Yeah, I don't know. My dough is just not, it's not a floater. Let's see. Also supposed to put salt on them while they're wet from the alkaline bath. So, salt handy. I'm just using kosher salt. Pop. So I don't know what's up. And they've contracted so much that they closed their eyes completely. We might revisit this and make a dough from scratch. I'm worried that it might be the fact that I'm using a pre-made pizza dough that's causing the troubles here. Stop sticking to the bottom there, bud. Well, okay. I'm sure they'll be edible when they get out of here, but they're not going to be pretty. Cornmeal on the front of that one. I didn't manage to get the... Oh, and that one as well. I didn't manage to get the flips to work. Okay, well... This is why we play with our food, so that we can understand and get better. Turn the heat off there. The pretzels need to rest for 5 minutes before going in the oven. So they shall do that over here by the sink, which is gradually filling up with dishes. So I'm glad I emptied my drying area before. Put the cornmeal away. Take my weird crusty water and get rid of that. I'm surprised at how much of the baking soda has ended up on the sides above the water line, not like along the edge of the water line, but all the way up to the edge of the pan. I didn't expect that. Okay. Let's get out a pan, because we're going to need one in a little bit. But let's bring the mushrooms back to the front corner. As you can see, they are thick. They're actually sticking to the bottom a bit. But not so terribly that I can't release them. You might need a slightly stiffer spatula to get them to let go. Maybe? Come on. No, they're coming up. So we've cooked out most of that water I added, the purpose of which was just to slow the whole thing down. I would love to give this a taste. I would love to give this a taste, but it's going to be very, very hot. Tasting spoon. Oh, let's see what's going on the old plant here. Okay. It's thick enough to coat a spoon, which means we've achieved sauce. Ooh, tastes like mushrooms. Oh man, that's good. Oh man, that's good. Oh man, that is good. It's just like a concentrated, savory flavor. I could just eat that smeared on some crusty toast. Mmm. I'm hesitant. And actually, so what I looked up here was called creamy mushroom dip. Um, but gosh, I don't know that I want to add very much cream to this. I'm kind of happy with the flavors we've got. Maybe just a little bit. Maybe just a tiny bit, but I don't know. I might. I'm tempted to just say this is it. This is what we got, because this stuff is tasty, and it's gonna keep sticking to the bottom if I keep cooking it. I'm gonna add just a little bit of cream. How much does this thing actually call for? A cup of cream. We don't need a cup of cream. I'm gonna add somewhere in the neighborhood of a tablespoon. I'm actually gonna take the heat off. Sorry, I was silent. I was deadly silent for that. Um, I'm taking it off the heat. I'm just taking it over here. I don't even want residual. It's definitely thick enough to be a dip. It's going to firm up a lot as it cools, and the cream will also contribute to that. And if I used what they recommend of sour cream, that would contribute even more. I'm amazed at how much cream they wanted me to add to this. Give it a taste. That's very good. The cream adds a little bit to the texture, and I like it. I wouldn't add any more, honestly. I think it is good. It needs some fresh black pepper, though. Now that it's off the heat, I can just grind that in there, and the flavors should meld in gently. Our pretzels are probably rested for the requisite 5 minutes. So I'm going to pop them in the oven. And actually set a timer for a change. So that I don't forget. Because I'll probably forget. Exact times will vary based on the size and shape of your pretzel. So while those guys are baking, though, we can pull out this pan and get started on cheese sauce. I'm actually glad I ended up not adding much dairy to the mushroom dip, because the cheese dip is going to be all dairy. We're starting with a can of evaporated milk, which, if you're not familiar, I've got it over here. I just opened the lid, so you can't look. I can't hold it up sideways, but I've got another can in the cupboard. Evaporated milk. Contains milk and a little bit of dipotassium phosphate and vitamin D. It's basically milk that's had has had a portion of the water removed, making it canning stable. I don't actually need the whole can now. This stuff is a decent. It tastes like milk. It tastes like thick milk. It's a decent substitute for cream in some things. Uh, you can add it to like a mac and cheese, or in this case, a cheese sauce, because it's less fatty than cream, because it doesn't have the proportions are not the proportions of cream, but it has a similar milky thickness. I don't need this whole can. This is a 12-ounce can. I don't need the whole can. That'd be too much. I'm also working with award-winning sharp cheddar cheese. Approximately a pound. Again, we don't need the whole pound. You're supposed to use equal parts this and that, and then some cornstarch to bring it together. Combine cheese and cornstarch. Box grater. Oop. Let's give this cheese the old tasterino before I dive in on it. Yeah, it's not super sharp, but it's got a good sort of corner of the jaws tang, like a sharp cheddar should. Doesn't bill itself as some kind of crazy super sharp, which is fine because it's definitely not that. I don't know why I got the scale out. I'm not going to weigh this. Scale away. So some cheese. Probably a little more than that. Come on, let go. Let go. Okay. Some cheese. Now it looks like that's about the same size as that can, but there's a lot of airspace in the cheese, which is why I don't need that full can for this. I guess I'm gonna eyeball it. We're coming over here. We're cheesing the pan. Oops, we're immediately throwing the cheese all over the countertop. The cheese immediately starts to melt because the top of the stove is hot, because the oven is on, and there's inevitably a little bit of heat leak. Obviously not oven temperature, but it's hot enough that I think it would melt some cheese up there. And cornstarch. And salt and pepper, I guess. The stupid recipe doesn't have any. Ugh, I hate them with these websites. Yeah, I think we're gonna use half that can of milk. Where's my cornstarch? There's my cornstarch. And that much cornstarch. That's the half tablespoon. I'm just eyeballing it. Okay, heat. Heat with whisk until melty. Approximately half a can of that stuff. And yeah, this should come together into a nice cheese sauce. Should. Operative word. I've mentioned just a moment ago that I have not had good, consistent luck with either sauces or gravies. They both give me some struggles, and I end up with things that are usually much too thick. They usually over thicken. For example, let's look at this mushroom stuff. It's still saucy, but it's developing a skin and is it's not that bad. It is developing a skin as it sits and the surface dries out. Tasty stuff, though. I'll give it that. I don't know what to do with the rest of my evaporated milk. That's going to be a challenge for me after I stop rolling to figure out what to do with it. Let's store the remaining cheddar cheese. If this ends up needing more cheese, I will add a different kind of cheese that's easier to grate, rather than go for the cheddar. Oh, while I'm in here, if you're curious about the results of last time's project, I've poured off most of the excess water, but here's the jug, and there's the starch that we saved from that seitan washing. We got a good half-inch of starch down there. I made a pretty small quantity overall, so I don't know how long that starch will keep. The seitan has to be used within a day, so we're already past that. I didn't save it for you. But I don't know how long the starch keeps. It's just starch. It's just pure starch and water. Oh, I've got the camera on the wrong angle. I'm just stirring the cheese. It's looking very smooth. It's looking a little bit too watery, but I get the feeling that as soon as I take it off the heat, it is going to start solidifying rapidly. Um, and I'm pretty sure this is meant to be stable enough to be saucy at lower temperatures. Let's do the coat the back of a spoon test. Easily coats the back of a spoon. Do the taste test. Ooh. Ooh, it tastes exactly like the sharp cheddar. It woke the sharp cheddar up, came out to play. Nice. Needs some pepper. Does it need a pinch of salt? It probably needs just a tiny pinch of salt. Not a ton, though. Just a spritz of cayenne. For our cheese sauce. Unless I want to make, well, I already put black pepper in it. We could take it to more of a nacho flavor. Let me give it a taste. No, I think if I wanted to do nacho, I would have to start with a non-sharp cheese. I don't think the sharpness is where I want to take that. Okay, okay. 6 minutes left on the pretzels. I'm going to take a peek at them. Ooh. They look like little breads. They don't look a ton like pretzels. They look like little breads to me. I'm going to transfer my sauces into their little serving bowls here. By the looks of things, I have much too much cheese sauce. Well, not much too much. It actually filled. It filled my ramekin quite nicely. Put a top on it to prevent it from getting too cold or developing a skin. It's going to try to develop a skin. Okay, the mushroom sauce, I'm going to say, does not look the greatest. It looks kind of like a bowl of oatmeal. It also looks kind of like some sick in a bowl. But man, does it taste good. So mushroomy, so savory. Oh, you thought it looked good. It kind of looks like oatmeal. Well, don't listen to me then. If you think it looks good, it definitely tastes amazing. I could feel like I just eat this with a spoon. Mm. And since it's pretty much just mushrooms, mushroom stock, and a little splash of cream, it's essentially a concentrated mushroom soup. So I could eat it with a spoon. The ingredients say, sure, go ahead, fine, eat this with a spoon. Why not? 3 minutes on the pretzels. Take a peek. Ooh, they got all brown. They turned all brown like pretzels do. See, I should put the remainder of the mushroom dip. I'm gonna get one I know will fit everything. I feel like that guy's gonna be too big, but I know it'll fit all of it. So I'm gonna pack, while the last couple of minutes are ticking down on my pretzels, I'm going to get my dip off the stove so the remainder doesn't dry up. Tasty stuff. I can definitely see that being the winner of today's various items. Just this concentrated mushroom stuff. Oh, it was so easy to make too. I even like deliberately set it to the side and forgot about it for a while, and it just was perfectly fine when I got back to it. Okay, we are in the home stretch on the pretzels. Timer is counting down, and I'm just waiting for it. And I guess my dinner tonight's going to be pretzels. I don't usually make a completely non-dinner item for the dinner time period here. I can make myself a little side salad so it's not just starch and cheese. Although that sounds tasty. Mmm. Mmm. 30 seconds. Take a peek. Oh, wow. We take less peeks so we can look at these together when they come out. Get us ready over here. I should get a pot holder. 4, 3, 2, 1. Beep, 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 beep. Stop the timer. Moment of truth. There they are. It said, times will vary, but take them out when you see a nice dark brown crust and they start showing signs of stretch marks where they're pulling away. And they're all doing that, except for that guy, and they're all nice dark brown crusts. So they look... This one kind of turned into a little ball. This one kind of turned into a little ball. The shaping didn't super work out. But they look darn cooked. They look like, aside from the shape, they look like pretzels. The salt is stuck. I didn't have pretzel salt. I just used my regular old kosher salt. I probably should have used sea salt, because it has a more My coarse sea salt has a more even, coarse granule size. But oh well. Next time. They're not crackling. This guy's got a little bit of cornmeal on the top. They're not really crackling a lot. There's not much to hear. They are a bread item and need to rest ooh, a bit, but they don't have to rest nearly as much as a bread would. I do want to get them off of the sheet and onto a rack. I'm reasonably pleased. We need to work on the shaping. And I think part of that is just because my dough was so springy. I think it was too springy. They're not sticking to the... Well, that one is a little bit. Okay. Ooh, that one's sticking quite a bit. They're a little... They're a little bit like loaves on the bottom. Especially that one and the big one. Oh, I tell you what, they smell like pretzels. Yeah, that's exactly. They're more like pretzel rolls. This one is trying to... Very hot still. This one is trying to stick a lot more. Okay, while the smaller ones are resting, I'm actually going to put the big one back in because the middle... Well, maybe not. It feels... I'm worried it might be a little bit under compared to these guys. Because it's bigger. I'm going to give it another minute. Well, more than a minute, but I'm going to give it another little bit. The little ones can cool, and then we can play with them. Get over to this camera. Here's what they look like. They're very cute. They smell exactly like pretzels. They aren't quite as glossy on the outside. I noticed that when I put them in the alkali bath to simmer, the surfaces got like very textured, and that texturing calmed down in the baking, but it's still there a little bit. Lean up my head over there. Yeah, I got to get the glamour shots. I can take the glamour shots while they're hot too. So we're gonna. Oh no, we're gonna use a. We're gonna use a square plate. It's got to be white because all the stuff is brown, and I'm gonna use a square plate because I've got the round ramekins for the dips. We're gonna move stuff. They're already cool enough to put my hands on. So okay, that one and that one are going to have to be kind of tucked in because they got the cornmeal on the edges. That's the one that's just a circle, so he's going to be hidden. And then I actually think that's my prettiest one, so that guy's going to be toward the front. Rack away. I'm actually going to take the big one completely out now. It didn't need very much more time. Not that much bigger than the other ones. Push everybody back a little bit. These dips are much too substantial for what we've got here. I should... Okay. I'm going to dirty some additional dishes just to make smaller dips. Cheese sauce has a tiny bit of a texture to it since I took it off the heat. I think it's trying to separate. The mushroom sauce, on the other hand, has maintained itself. Okay. That's so tasty. The plate needs a garnish. What to garnish the plate? What? With what shall we garnish the plate? Oh. I've got a little bit of salad greens here that will form a salad. They're a tiny bit over the hill. There. Just like when you get the appetizer at the restaurant and they have a little pile of some random leafy green on the plate so that it doesn't look quite so brown. We're moving over to the glamour shots. For which I'm going to need my tablet camera, which I did not pre-retrieve. Okay. Fortunately, this is not a food item that is going to rapidly degrade in appearance. Okay. Okay. Photos taken, lights off, coming back. We're back. We're back in the studio. And I guess we give it a taste test. I've already been tasting both of these as we went, but we of course have to check the pretzels themselves and test them with the dip. Ooh, ooh, a nice like. It's got a nice crust. You can feel it kind of crack as you tear into it. And we're going to taste it completely bald first. Mmm. Mmm. Oh, yeah. The surface is like a good crackling crust. And the middle is a very bouncy chew. And it's got that faint alkaline flavor that pretzels have. Yeah, that's a pretzel. That right there, that's a soft pretzel. Mmm. And of course, it goes perfectly well with a cheese dip. Nice, creamy, sharp cheese dip. Making dips for pretzels, you want to undersalt them because the pretzel itself is quite salty. That's why if I wasn't doing garlic, speaking of which, I'm really not picking up the garlic flavor out of this at all. If I wasn't doing garlic, I probably would have tried a sweet dip because that goes well with the bready, salty pretzel as well. This stuff is great. As a dip, yes, but I can see myself making this again and just putting it on everything. General purpose like savory sauce. Yeah, the garlic flavor is not coming through very strongly. I'm actually having a hard time picking out garlic at all, even just eating the thing completely by itself. Mm. This would be a good like party snack because you could make a big batch of these. They don't take super long. They take a little bit of effort, but they don't take super long. And with a pre-made dough, you could definitely make a big batch of these for a party. Especially this size, they're a little bit smaller. Good sort of hors d'oeuvre size thing. The big one, the one I was greedy and made big, is more like a roll. It really sort of rolled itself together. This one that I was eating here, I was actually able to pull the pretzeled twist apart and get like little pretzel pieces out of it. So I guess that worked. I guess that element of it actually, even though it looked like they kind of just blipped together, they really, the twist does in fact still work. And you can get it apart. Well, I'm pleased. Aside from the visually, they kind of blobbed together. I think they're perfect. And, excuse me, and a little bit of fresh arugula for a side salad so that we don't just have a meal of bread and cheese and savory. A beer would go great. Surprise, surprise. I bought some beer today. After last time I said, oh, a beer would go great with this, and I didn't have one. uh, 4 steps ahead of you. That is bringing us up to just about 2 hours as well. That was a good sort of time frame. I am happy with that one. I'm not going to get the beer out now because, you know, alcohol on the internet is kind of a weird thing. I'm going to look at my list here and see who we might go raid. Yeah. I feel like I had a lot of ums and long pauses today, but maybe that was just me. Oh, I've been raiding LaFay every week for weeks. But darn, if I was gonna go watch something right now, that's where I'd go watch. Well, that's usually what I let guide my raids. Where would I go? Fine. No, I'm feigning exasperation. We're gonna go see LaFay again. We see LaFay all the time. Um, uh, Thanks for hanging out. I'm glad you could make it. I'm glad I could make it. I think we made a smashing success. These things are honestly delicious. I'm very pleased with how they turned out. I was a little bit worried along the way there, but they turned right around and turned into just perfect little pretzels in the end. And it was a good trial run for the pizza dough. I think the stretchiness of the dough worked against us in this application, but it was a pretty good dough right out of the package. So good trial run on that. I'll keep that in mind if I make projects that need dough, but I'm worried I wouldn't have enough time to make the dough and the project. I'm just gonna let this timer run out because last time when I didn't, I ended up accidentally streaming all of LaFay's show.